Hello, racing fans. This is NASCAR Racing Fan 2015 back with another NASCAR view. And this one is on, this has been a very, very crazy, silly season so far. We've had tons of changes. There's been news almost every week, really, since Kentucky. As you know, Kentucky weekend, we had Matt Kenseth announced that he was not going to return to the 20 car, and that kind of kick-started everything. And then the week later at New Hampshire, the week leading up to New Hampshire, Eric Jones was announced he was going to the 20 car. And then the week of Indianapolis, we had the news. We had the news that Alex Bowman was going to take over the 88 car for Dale Earnhardt Jr. And then Pocono, we heard the news about Ryan Blaney is going to the 12, and Paul Menard is going to the 21 car. And we also said that Keselowski was staying at the 2. A Watkins Glen weekend, we had the whole fiasco that Kurt Busch is now a free agent, as he's his situation with Stuart Haas Racing. I think he's still going to return, but if somehow something goes wrong. I think the reason why Kurt Busch the reason why he's a free agent is because of the Monster Energy deal that was signed, I think, before they became sponsor of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. So they're going to leave, or possibly they're trying to get a new deal in place for the future. I think the second one, that's probably what it will be. And then we have the news this week that Kasey Kahne is not going to return to the 5 car in 2018. It was announced on Monday, and so during the middle of the week, there were a couple speculations that could happen with this. Either what could happen? Either they maybe get a Kurt Busch or Matt Kenseth to replace them. That's one scenario, because they're both free agents. They could have better options. The second one is to sell the charter to another team and decide to only go to 3 cars, which they're not going to do that, because why? Money. If you look at it, you have 3 of the most marketable drivers right now. You have Dale Earnhardt Jr., Chase Elliott, and Jimmie Johnson. Those are the 3 most. They probably make the most money off of all the merchandise and stuff, and they're not going to get rid of a 4th car. That might give more opportunities for money, and so that wasn't going to happen. So the third situation, which did happen, and it's probably the most obvious, is bringing up William Byron from the Xfinity Series and move him to the Cup Series. And that's what happened on Wednesday. Well, Tuesday, there was sources heard that it was William Byron. Wednesday, it was officially confirmed. He will be taking over the number 5 car. And my first reaction is that Cars 3 is officially a reality. It came out 2 months ago, and it almost mirrors, this silly season especially kind of mirrors it. We had the part where maybe Jackson Storm takes over. When that happened, there were 6 rookies right after. If you maybe look at some of the earlier people maybe that have done successful as young drivers like Joey Logano or Kyle Larson, that is kind of the foreshadowing. And then maybe leads up into the 2016 season, we know with the following week, the 6 drivers, there are 6 new next generation. It's kind of maybe 2016, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, and a couple other drivers came up. And then, as it kind of progresses, there are even more young drivers. And by the end of the season, the only veteran is Lightning McQueen. And that'll probably take place over a couple of years. I'd say by 2022 or so, we might have everyone, like almost everyone will be gone. That's like a veteran. Like the veteran would probably be what? Like Martin Truex Jr. or Kyle Busch or something like that. I don't know. Jimmie Johnson maybe. But I mean, yeah, and and another thing that mirrors it is the silly season. Like all the transitions happen middle of the season, and like where the cars were getting replaced mid-season. If you look at it in NASCAR as well, like if you look at this scenario, all the silly season things are happening mid-season. Like Eric Jones takes over for Matt Kenseth. Ryan Blaney goes to the 12 car. Paul Menard to the 21 car. Alex Bowman takes over for Dale Jr. William Byron takes over for Kasey Kahne. And that all happened like mid-season. That was a mid-season transition. I mean, it's not going to... I mean, now in NASCAR, it's not going to happen until 2018, but technically the announcement is mid-season. I mean, there's a lot of similarities to Cars 3. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of weird. Like it's foreshadowed it as we have seen a lot of young drivers move up, and yeah, it'll be. I think it's not going to end. I mean, we're going to see a lot more young, talented drivers make their way. I mean, this is really like the big youth movement right now. I mean, we saw that, I'm sure like in the 2000s, I think whenever, Brian Newman, Dale Jr., Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart, Jimmie Johnson, we had all those drivers, like Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, we had all them come up around like 2000 to like 2003. And now we're seeing, it looks like we're seeing that now where we've had, I'm really considering 2014, like, Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Ty Dillon, and then we have, obviously, next year, William Byron. So, I mean, that's a lot of young drivers that have came up. And time will tell which ones end up being successful and then which ones are going to probably get kicked out sooner than expected, because I mean, if some of the young drivers don't perform, they're going to get replaced with even younger drivers, and we'll have to see how that goes. So my opinion on William Byron to the 5, I'm kind of 50-50. I mean, now I felt like I wanted to see him maybe one more year in Xfinity. I mean, if William Byron has another thing like in the Truck Series where he has, where he gets eliminated because of something stupid, then it wouldn't be the best move, because then he'd be entering the Cup Series. He wouldn't be a champion yet. I hope he wins the Xfinity Series championship. He is probably the odds-on favorite, but yet you also have Elliott Sadler and Justin Allgaier, and then there's probably going to be another. There's going to be another car. I doubt Michael Annett makes it to the championship 4. So who knows? Like Daniel Hemrick could go on a late season run and win the championship. And then if that happens, I'm going to laugh so hard, because as William Byron wouldn't have a championship. I like William Byron, but that would be kind of hilarious to see how. There would be another thing like Eric Jones. I thought Eric Jones should have stayed in the Xfinity this year, won a championship. He probably would be the favorite. I think it'd be either him or William Byron, and then move up to Cup with 2 championships in the 20 car. I mean, they didn't have to run him in the 77 car. And so we'll see if he can win it. I think he will. But you never know. I mean, we've seen the playoffs or the chase or whatnot be very, very competitive, very, very surprising. But William Byron does have a cushion with the playoff points. So something he didn't have in the Truck Series. I think if they had the playoff points last season, William Byron would probably be your champion, because he was only like, maybe, wasn't he like 10 points out or something like that? from getting into the championship 4. I mean, he would have easily, had like 30, 40 points. Yeah, if we had playoff points, William Byron would be your champion in the Truck Series. Because he won the race, I think. Yeah, he did. And so, yeah, I mean, that he would be a champion. So he has 10 wins in not even 2 seasons yet. That is remarkable. I haven't seen someone do that in a long time. Just be that dominant. But at the same time, Truck Series was a little bit weak. The Xfinity Series obviously has all the Cup guys running it. And, I mean, but, hey, he almost has as many wins as Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has, 4 wins. William Byron has 3. And he's actually, a regular. So that's pretty good that he's kind of keeping up with Kyle Busch. Maybe he can get more wins than Kyle Busch. But anyways, I think I'm going to get on to why I think I moved up. I think the reason why they moved him up so early is sponsorship. I mean, remember, Kasey Kahne's car, he lost Farmers Insurance, Great Clips, Panasonic, Quicken Loans. I can name all of them. Time Warner Cable, Quaker State. I swear there were a couple other. He's lost 5 sponsors, and there's all these people on Facebook saying, "Well, why did you just fire Kasey?" And I'm done with Hendrick Motorsports. I hope Kasey Kahne blows out. Hendrick Motorsports. What did Kasey Kahne do in those 6 years? I mean, he's gotten worse and worse every year. I don't care if he won the Brickyard 400. He had a 15th to 20th place car the entire race, and he lucks out by pit strategy. And what do you know? He's the Brickyard 400 winner. I'm not going to discredit. It was a good win by Kasey Kahne, but that doesn't mean that, he's all of a sudden a good driver. It doesn't mean that team improves any. Sure, they're locked into the playoffs, but Kasey Kahne will probably get eliminated in the round of 16 unless the summer to fall transition to where with Jimmie Johnson and with Chase Elliott a little bit last year rubs on to this team. Because Hendrick Motorsports is probably known the best team from going from an awful summer to a good fall. Because in 2014 they didn't have that. 2015, Jeff Gordon, I think he got 8 or 9 top 10 finishes whenever the chase started. And the summer he was doing terrible, just mistakes everywhere. And he made it to the championship 4 and almost won the championship. And then last year we had we had Chase Elliott. He didn't do the greatest in the summer. He had a couple wrecks, a couple misfortunes. He was just lucky to survive the summer still in the chase. But then when he got in there, he had some fast cars. He probably should have won a race. But, with all the bad luck that he has, there was no way he was going to win, I guess. He almost won Chicagoland. He almost won Charlotte. He probably had the best car in Charlotte until he got wrecked. And then in Kansas, he was leading, and now his car has issues. So, yeah, that was fun. And then we have Jimmie Johnson, of course. He's done this he's done it the last 3 years. With Jimmie Johnson, he just awful summer, and he's having it again this year. He's had 4 awful summers in a row. I think 2015 was just an okay summer for him. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't good. But the last 2 summers for Jimmie Johnson, especially 2016, 2017, have been awful. But guess what? He rallied back, and what do you know? He starts winning, and then we go to Homestead, and what do you know? He wins the championship. So, that could happen with Kasey Kahne. He might be +3 over the cutoff, but I don't expect much from him. So, there was just no option. I don't think Rick Hendrick was going to find sponsors. Say, here, we want to sponsor Kasey Kahne. I mean, he barely is he's not even in the top 20 in points. He's just, he won a race, but I mean, if you want to get media exposure, good luck with that. And yeah, I mean, it was just rough. The reason why sponsors even left Kasey Kahne in the first place was because he wasn't up front. Okay, here's something that I recently at the New Hampshire race, the Overton's 301 was really the first sign I saw how awful and just how bad the 5 team really is. So Kasey Kahne is running in the top 10. He's about 7th. He's ahead of Chase Elliott. I think he's the best Hendrick car. He was the best Hendrick car for the whole first stage, which is pretty remarkable for the 5 team. He ends up getting, I think, 7th in stage 1 because they decided to stay out. So due to the pit strategy, he pitched Chase Elliott, of course Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., I think Jamie McMurray pit. And they end up about 25th to 30th in line. And then once the restart, they restart the race for stage 2. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., of course, come back to the front. Chase Elliott, I think, made it back up to the top 10 by the end of stage 2. And you want to know where Kasey Kahne went? He went absolutely nowhere. He was still stuck in 30th place, and I'm sitting here, how is he 30th? What happened to him? He couldn't even pass, I think, Matt DiBenedetto, Michael McDowell, and a couple other people they were probably turning better lap times than him. And I'm sitting here, I don't know if there's any issues with him, but he hasn't moved anywhere since the restart. And he goes a lap down, and I think he finished 28th. So I don't know how you turn a top 10 car into a top 30 car. But yet, like I said, you have Keith Rodden. He is not a very good crew chief. I would take Matt McCall, who was Keith Rodden's replacement for the 1 car, because remember, Keith Rodden was at the 1 car. He got the job because he won the All-Star race with Jamie McMurray. And so Hendrick took him, and they haven't done anything. I mean, besides the Brickyard 400 win that just somehow went his way. But after that, there's been nothing good about the relationship. I said I take Jamie McMurray. I take a first-round exit every year, Jamie McMurray, over this Kasey Kahne team that lucks out and wins the Brickyard 400. And I mean, that's pretty much. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people saying, well, he's doing better than Chase Elliott and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And because of the playoff system, like I said, if you look at the playoffs thing now, you would wonder why Kane's getting kicked out over Chase Elliott and Dale Earnhardt Jr. But if you expand the season stats, you would probably realize that Kasey Kahne, doesn't he only have 4 top 10s this year? And I think 2 top 5s. And then you look at Chase Elliott, and he's at, he's at 12. So that's triple Kasey Kahne's top 10s. And then obviously, he's 2014. Chase Elliott is beating Kasey Kahne in every stat category except 1, and that's wins. And just because of that, Kasey Kahne is ahead of him in the playoff grid. Which, I don't know when I'm going to make a video. I'll probably make a rant if maybe 8th in points or misses the playoffs, I'll make a rant on it. Because it's just stupid. I hate the whole winning. I'm with a lot of the other people. I hate the winning you're in. I think it should at least be top 20. But I'll get onto that later. But anyways, I mean, it's just the domino effect with Kasey Kahne. He runs in the back, which means no TV time, which means that nobody's seen the advertisements on Kasey Kahne's car, which means sponsors are going to leave, and which eventually means that Kasey Kahne is out of a ride. I get he has 1 year left, but I just think the long-term situation is with William Byron. I mean, he would have probably been out after 2018, and they might as well just do it now. Get the sponsors comfy, get, William Byron comfy. So it makes perfect sense for Kasey Kahne to be out. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people saying it's similar to the Matt Kenseth situation, when the difference between that is Matt Kenseth is having way better performance and actually has sponsorship. I guarantee you, if Joe Gibbs Racing asked DeWalt, Circle K, Tide, Peak Antifreeze, do you want Matt Kenseth to continue? I'm sure all of them would say yes. They would stick with Matt Kenseth. Whereas with the 5 team, we have two big sponsors. Farmers and Great Clips both combined for 22 out of the 36 races, and they both left. And I doubt you can convince anyone else to sponsor the 5 car anymore. So it just makes more sense to bring up William Byron, who does have sponsorship, who does have potential, and just new. So that's really the difference between the Matt Kenseth and the Kasey Kahne scenario, which I compared in almost every single video, I think. I've compared every silly season move to the Eric Jones move, because, that was just a blatant, we're going to kick out Matt Kenseth, who's still performing for the future, and then the Hendrick situation, as just didn't have enough sponsorship. That's the name of the game now, is sponsorship. You need to have money. You need to have some sort of financial backing, or you need to have like a sponsor like with Alex Bowman. You need to have like Nationwide get on board, and that's the only way you're going to get anywhere in this sport. So anyway, now I'm going to talk about Hendrick as a whole. So they go from the oldest lineup in NASCAR to now officially probably the youngest lineup. When Jeff Gordon was still at Hendrick Motorsports, the average age was 39.5. That is pretty old. That's almost 40. So their average is 40. And now, next year, their average age is going to be 27. So they dropped 12 and a half years. And that's just insane. And it's just very interesting. Keeping up. Hendrick really has made some big changes in the driver lineup. And like I said, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people are going to compare, like I said, with how Joe Gibbs and Hendrick approached it, when really with Gibbs, they didn't, Carl Edwards, that was an open spot. But, Matt Kenseth was willing to race for a while. So there was only one open spot at Gibbs. And here at Hendrick, there were 2 people that retired. And then Kasey Kahne, who didn't have any sponsorship. So that's just the comparison there. And, it's just weird. I think that Jimmie Johnson has more wins than I think, each individual driver, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, and William Byron, have starts. I think Alex Bowman's 81, 84, or something like that. It's about on par with how many wins Johnson has. And then Chase Elliott is now, I think, at 63, and William Byron's going to start out fresh in Daytona. So yeah, that is an interesting stat. And Jimmie Johnson's 18 years older than Alex Bowman. Wow, Hendrick really went on different direction with their drivers, and it's kind of stunning. Before, like I said before, Hendrick normally would be the one that would get people from other teams, like Kasey Kahne, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mark Martin. That's really what guided them into especially with a 5 car. Now, I guess they're trying to find the next Jeff Gordon, Jimmie Johnson, the next success story. We already have Chase Elliott eventually he'll win. Maybe hopefully this week at Michigan. Let's just put all of us out of misery. Just come on. Hopefully, even though there'll probably be something to just mess it up. Hopefully he wins this weekend. And then we have now Alex Bowman and William Byron. And yeah, be interesting. So now I'm gonna go on the future of Hendrick Motorsports, like what next, kind of. Oh yeah, and then I forgot to do the sponsorship thing too, so I'll include that in there. And then I'm gonna do on what's next for Kasey Kahne. So what's next for Hendrick Motorsports? So virtually they have 3 drivers locked up for the future. The big question is what's going to happen with Jimmie Johnson in the future. That's something that I think is probably won't be answered for a while. But Jimmie Johnson is signed until 2020, and I think it's going to be really interesting, and we're going to have to watch and see what Hendrick Motorsports does in the future. Like, if they acquire any other younger drivers for the team. So, I mean, I think right now, let's say if they get a young driver at Hendrick, then that probably is going to foreshadow that Jimmie Johnson would either retire or leave the 48 team after 2020. If it's anywhere, maybe in 2019, there's a new driver at Junior Motorsports that's fairly young, and maybe like a new driver, like started out, maybe they start him out in the trucks and then go to Xfinity. If they hire someone like that, that might be Jimmie Johnson's replacement. But if we don't see, like, let's say we're 2019, 2020, and there's no other like drivers there, then probably Jimmie Johnson will probably ride along. I mean, Jimmie Johnson can go. He's still got to win that 8th championship. I mean, there's been talks that he would retire. He said he might consider retirement after 8. But Jimmie Johnson, first off, I think he can still competitively run. I think he'll be there for a long time, like with Jeff Gordon. The second thing is he has another accomplishment. He's got to get to 100 wins. I mean, at this rate, I mean, with Jimmie Johnson, he can just pull a win out of a hat. I mean, He has only 3 top 5s this year, and all 3 of them were wins. So, I mean, Jimmie Johnson will he will definitely win a race in the playoffs. I can guarantee you that. It's either going to be when he's still in it, like he might even go all the way this year again, or by maybe getting eliminated, like he has a bad round, gets eliminated, and then he wins like Texas or something. So, I mean, Jimmie Johnson has a lot left, and I don't know. My prediction is I think Jimmie Johnson will go to like 2024. That's kind of my prediction. Or whenever, he really his performance dies off. Maybe like Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman or William Byron start to take the torch away as the best Hendrick car, because Jimmie Johnson's by far the best out of the 4. He's like the only one that wins on a consistent basis, and that's pretty much it. So I think Jimmie Johnson is going to be here for a while, and I don't think they're going to get any other younger drivers. Now I'm going to talk about the sponsorship, because William Byron now has Liberty and Exalta as a sponsor. So Exalta, I seriously thought they weren't going to do this, but they're going to sponsor both William Byron and Alex Bowman next season. And probably what's going to happen is Liberty will probably sponsor, I think, 14 races. Exalta will also sponsor 14 races. So that'll put Exalta's sponsorship total to 30. And now people are saying that's probably pretty crazy. But what my theory is that Exalta got a much cheaper deal to sponsor both Alex Bowman and William Byron than just sponsoring like Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon, because I mean, there's an article about Dale Jr. saying that now the younger drivers are taking big pay cuts because obviously, NASCAR's running out of, they're not making as much money as they are. They're still making tons of money, but they're not making as much as usual. So the drivers probably are making, they're at least making like $1 million or something like that. I mean, they're probably paid enough, but it's certainly a lot less than than paying Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Jeff Gordon or Jimmie Johnson. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmie Johnson makes more money than the other 3 drivers next year combined because of their youth and they haven't really accomplished much yet. But anyways, yeah. So Exalta, I'm thinking it is probably cheaper for Exalta to sponsor 30 races with 2 unknown drivers, or not known yet, like William Byron and Alex Bowman, than to sponsor 10 races on Jeff Gordon's car and 13 races on Dale Jr.'s car. That's just my theory. That's probably why Exalta got that. And plus their Xfinity thing, they're probably going to move the sponsorship dollars up to the Cup Series, so more benefits for them. And with Hendrick, I mean, they probably wouldn't have found another sponsor anyways. I mean, the 5 team can barely find anything. So they just said, here, Exalta, you get these races for much less cost. And that's what happened. So I think Liberty for 14, Exalta for 14, and then I think we're going to see UniFirst. I think this is the start where, they get 3 races. So probably so that'll bring up to 31. And then LiftMaster, I think they're going to stay. I'm going to put them at 3 races. So that's 34. And then probably the other 4 races, he's not going to be in the Clash next year. So that'll put, the other 3 races will probably be sponsored by Mountain Dew. That's my prediction. See, we'll have to see what you guys in the comments think. I mean, it'll probably be Alex Bowman has 4 Mountain Dew races. William Byron has 3. And then Chase Elliott, he has 2 currently, but he has, I think, 3 other races. Like Richmond this year, and then Dover and Texas are unsponsored. I'm assuming all 3 would go to Mountain Dew, but we'll have to see. So now I'm going to go over what could happen to Kasey Kahne. He is now a free agent, and he's gotten out of the cursed 5 car. So there's a couple options for him. He can probably, there's RCR, there's that extra car. The one issue is he doesn't have any sponsors with him. I highly doubt LiftMaster and UniFirst are going to follow. Like UniFirst is signed with the 5 team. The only sponsor I could see following him is Drive and Hunger, because now Drive and Hunger doesn't have a young driver. And that's for 1 to 2 races. I'm assuming they just leave, or they'd sponsor Jeff Gordon in the broadcast booth. I mean, that's sad when they'd rather sponsor a commentator than Kasey Kahne. But that's what the 5 team does for you. They put you in a bad spot. So there's that opportunity. I don't think it's going to happen. I can't see it. I still feel like RCR is probably going to get rid of that car. And then there's some spots at Stewart Haas Racing that could possibly, but I doubt they go for Kasey Kahne. We have the 10 car. If sponsorship doesn't work out for Danica Patrick, she'll be out. But honestly, I think it is. I mean, Aspen Dental, I think, is going to, they've sponsored a lot of the races. I just feel like Aspen Dental won't get rid of Danica, and they're going to continue sponsoring her. So I think I still feel like Danica is still safe. Even though there's been some sponsorship issues, I think they should be good. And then, we have the 41 at Kurt Busch. What happens with that team? I mean, I think with Kurt Busch, I think they're going to get a new deal, and Kurt Busch will continue driving. That's my prediction. So that really leaves that there's another option that I considered, and it's been, like I said, a lot of talks. And I mean, there was even something about Rick Hendrick is trying to get Kasey Kahne to ride with a possible affiliate team, and that possibility, they're probably referencing HMS Racing. There have been rumors that they're going to possibly get a charter from BK Racing and then possibly start up in 2018. And what could happen, they could possibly go to 2 cars. I'm thinking Kasey Kahne would be in a car, and they'd also bring up Spencer Gallagher, because if you've been following, he was in the Truck Series last season. Now he's in the Xfinity Series, and he will probably be in the Cup Series competing against William Byron for Rookie of the Year next year. That's my prediction. That's going to be a tough one to figure out who wins. Tell me in the comments who you think's going to win. If you're still watching this, tell me in the comments who you think is going to win Rookie of the Year if that happens. William Byron or Spencer Gallagher? I'm wondering what you guys think. But anyways, yeah, Spencer Gallagher is probably going to move up. Kasey Kahne will probably, that'll be like the veteran driver, and with spots, probably, and then also the 77 team will probably be gone. So if GMS Racing can acquire those two charters, then Kasey Kahne will probably have a ride. Will he do any good? I don't know. I think it'll be like H. Scott Motorsports, to be honest. I don't think they're going to do awful, but I don't think they're going to do that good either. And probably Allegiant is going to probably sponsor at least, definitely Spencer Gallagher, maybe a couple races on Kasey Kahne. So that's pretty much it for this video. So if you like this video, give it a like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, subscribe for more videos. This is NASCAR Racing Fan 2015 signing out.